Hey guys, it's Libby, or at least Libby's hand. Today, I thought I would do a video about translating the Iliad, which, if you are interested in the Iliad or the ancient Greek language, has obvious benefits for you. But even if you are not, I think it would be interesting if you read any translated fiction to see what is lost in the translation process. So that you can sort of apply the knowledge of how these lines are going to get transformed into English, into how other translated English has been transformed. And I think ancient Greek is a really good language to do this with. It's not so different from English that it's going to take me 2 hours to explain what each of these lines actually means. But it's also different enough that we're going to have to meaningfully change the text in order to render it into English. So the main difference that you're going to find between Greek and English is that Greek has a case system instead of word order. So what does that mean? Nouns can fulfill different roles in a sentence. Nouns can be the subject, they can be the direct object, the indirect object, the object of a preposition, and various other things. And in English, we indicate that with word order. So if it's the subject, it comes at the beginning of the sentence. If it's the indirect object, it comes immediately after the verb. And if it's a direct object, it comes after the verb and after the direct object. In Greek, you can put the words in any order you want. And the way you indicate what job the noun is fulfilling is you change the ending. So you see here we've got two different spellings of the word achilleus. And that's because this one is nominative, it's a noun or it's a subject, and this one is genitive, it's possessive. So that's what's going to be causing a lot of the strangeness for us. But let's start by first reading the text so you know what it sounds like, because this is in a different alphabet. I'm going to do the first line with the correct meter, but it's really difficult to maintain meter for that long, so the first line will be correct, the other 6, maybe not. Meni naede thea peileiadio achilleus, ulomenein hemuri achaios arge etheke, polas diphthumos psukas aidi proiapsen heroon. Autus de heloria teuche kunesin oionoisi te daita, dios de teleto bule, exu, de ta protadias te ten erisante atredes te wanaxandron kai dios achilleus. If you speak Greek, you may notice that I pronounced this word differently. That's because in older forms of Greek, there was an additional letter, digamma, which made the W sound, which started off that word, anax, which people in my class at William & Mary decided to use. So we pronounced that word wanax, and we pronounced other missing digammas, but that's just because we're weird. Don't do that. So before we can even start translating the words, we have to decide how we're going to translate the form. So first, do we want to do a prose translation or a poetry translation? And if we want to do poetry, in what ways do we want to make it poetic? Greek poetry has meter but not rhyme. That does make it kind of difficult to recognize as poetry, especially for modern English speakers, because we're not really attuned to meter in the way that the ancient Greeks or even Shakespeare was. But we are very attuned to rhyme. So if you wanted to really make it clear that this is a poem, you might do a rhymed translation. And there certainly have been rhyme translations. They tend to be older, 18th, 19th century. What most modern translators are doing, and what I think is the right approach, is to do a sort of pseudo-verse, which is to keep the line breaks roughly where they are, but don't do meter and don't do rhyme. So it's just sort of a free-form poem in English translation. So you still get sort of the fun of looking at it and seeing a poem as opposed to seeing like dense paragraphs, but you're not limiting the translation by making it have to fit into a rhyme scheme or a meter. So if we take this approach, hopefully we will be able to maximize the literalness of our translation. So let's take a look at these actual words. Meinin aede thea. This means rage, and it's in the accusative, so it's a direct object. Aede means sing, and it's a command. And thea means goddess. So we've got goddess, sing, rage, or sing about rage. So we could just write goddess, sing about rage. But one, that doesn't sound very good. And two, it is not an accident that the word meinin occurs first in the poem. Because Greek is a lot more free with word order than English, the composer can choose where to put the word in a line, and there's a good chance that it has significance. So if at all possible, it would be nice to keep meinin at the beginning. So we're going to start with that, but how exactly do we want to translate this word meinin? Rage is what I've been saying, but it also means like anger, wrath. These are all very nuanced differences in English. I think anger just doesn't sound as lofty and poetic, and that's normally not how you see it translated. Rage and wrath, I think, are the two most popular ones, but they do have different connotations. I think of wrath as being something that is caused in you by someone else, and rage as being something that is inherently within you. So even on this first word, we're having to determine how we're going to characterize Achilles for the rest of the poem, because it's his rage or wrath that we're talking about. So we are going to be coloring our readers' interpretation of this poem just by how we translate this first word. And some people prefer wrath and some people prefer rage. I like rage for a reason that you may think is dumb, but it is that it allows us to preserve the first vowel sound of this poem, rage, meinin. And you know, there's something to be said for preserving the aesthetics in addition to the meaning of the poem. So I'm going to write the word rage, and then we'll just see what we get thrown into doing from here. I've got rage. I'm going to go sing of it, goddess. Now, I've decided to kind of screw myself over later on by preserving as best I can the meaning of these first three words. These are kind of the first three words in Western literature. Let's respect them. But now I've got this possessive, Peleiadio Achilleos. This means of Achilles, the son of Peleus. And then even though this is the end of the line, this isn't the end of the idea. We've got a comma after ulomenein. And ulomenein is an adjective meaning cursed, and it is modifying meinin. So it's the cursed rage. So sing of it, goddess. Rage, sing of it, goddess. Period. The cursed rage of, just going to write A for Achilles, son of Peleus. So as you can see already, I've been forced to repeat the word rage and also refer to it additionally with a pronoun, whereas the original just used it once. So we have quite a different looking sentence. This next phrase isn't too difficult. We've got hey, which means which. It's referring back to the meinin. Myriad Achaeans brought pain. So which brought pain to myriad Achaeans. Achaeans is the word for Greek in this period. You'll also find the word Danaans. They're not referring to themselves as Greeks yet. So the cursed rage of Achilles, son of Peleus, which brought pain to myriad. And murios is where we get the word myriad, so I'm very pleased that I'm able to preserve it. Myriad Achaeans. Okay, next line. Polas diphthymos psukas aidi proiapsen heroon. The comma comes after heroon, so we know that's going to be belonging up here. This de just means and. Oops. And it's not unusual for it to come after the first word of the second part of the phrase. So we've got polas, meaning many. Iphthymos means mighty. Psukas is souls, many mighty souls. Heroon, this means of heroes. And again, heroon is where we get the word hero, so hooray, we're able to preserve it. Proiapsen means through or hurled. And then aidi. This is going to cause us some problems because this has already caused us some problems just culturally. So nowadays, a lot of people mistakenly think that the ancient Greeks used exactly the same word to refer to Hades the god and Hades the place. Even saying Hades the place, I was like using the word Hades as the place name. But the ancient Greeks, they said his name is Aides. That's the nominative. That's the subject form of the verb or of the noun, and then I do is the genitive. And the genitive form in Greek can be used to do approximately a million things, and one of those is to mean the house of. So if I said, y'all can come over to my house, I could say, y'all can come over to Libu, which would be like the house of Libby. That's not how you would put Libby in the genitive, but you get the idea. So the Greeks use this one word to mean the house of Hades, and it kind of looks like it should just mean Hades. So it often gets translated, being put back into the nominative to mean Hades. So now, what is this going to mean for our translation? We can't keep it in this dative case when we translate it, because English has no way to show that. If we say the house of Hades, we're adding additional words, but we are making it clear that the place is not the man. So we're kind of using our text to fight against the misconception at the expense of the most literal translation. We can also just leave this as Hades. We can write thrown to Hades. So I don't feel like starting a crusade right now. I'm just going to translate this word as Hades. So, and hurled, I'm feeling more like hurled than thrown today, so we'll just go with that. And hurled many. I think heroes' souls sounds better than souls of heroes. Is that how you, is there an E there? Ugh, I can't even English. Is it like that? Something like that. Heroes' souls to Hades. Or we could say the house of Hades. Okay. Next line, autus de, I spelled this word wrong. It should have a rough breathing mark. So we've got this de again, which just means and, nice and easy. Oh, my bad. Our phrase is actually autus de heloria teoche kunesin oionoisi te something. Now, this is only a problem that we have with ancient texts or corrupted texts. This isn't a problem you're going to find with modern texts. But that is that we don't know what the word is here. I've seen two different versions, pasi and daita. So what the rest of this sentence means is, and they themselves, which is referring to the heroes, so the souls were hurled to Hades, and the heroes themselves were made or were prepared or were rendered prey to dogs and to birds. And now we have to work out which of these words we want to include. So pasi means all, and in this form, it would be meaning all the birds and all the dogs. It's a dative plural, and these two words are dative plural, so we know it's going with those. Daita is serving a totally different function in the sentence. It is accusative, and it means feast. Now, I'll tell you right now, I don't really like the phrase rendered them prey to all the birds. However, it's really hard to get both this idea of prey and feast into this sentence. So, and the souls went to Hades, and they themselves, to refer to the heroes. This can be a little bit confusing. You might want to consider saying, and their bodies as separate from their souls. So he hurled many hero souls to Hades, and I'm actually going to preserve the structure here, so I'm going to have the verb second. He hurled the souls to Hades, and he rendered, prepared, offered, I don't know. I might go with offered. And then I'm just going to repeat the word heroes, which I don't think is very good, and I would probably change, but this is just to make everything clear. The heroes themselves, to the birds, sorry, dogs first. The dogs and birds. And I think offered is kind of capturing this idea of the feast. You offer a feast. So I'm going to say he offered them as prey, and then just kind of delete that. Yeah. I could preserve the posse by saying offered to all the dogs and birds, but I don't like that. Okay. And now we've got this little, oh, I used two different types of punctuation. These should be the same. Now we've got this little aside, and Dios eteleto boule. So Dios is the possessive form of Zeus, the god Zeus. Eteleto was accomplished or was fulfilled. The intent or the will. The not quite desire. Let's say intent for now. Or purposes. I think purposes sounds nicer than purpose, but this word is singular, and I'd like to preserve that instead of using the plural purposes. So, and the intent of Zeus was, I'm gonna say fulfilled. The intent was fulfilled. I don't really feel like intents get fulfilled. I'm going to change this to will. The will of Zeus was fulfilled. If I said that accomplished, I feel like intents can be accomplished. So the will of Zeus was accomplished. And if this line makes absolutely no sense to you, that's because it's referring to stuff that's going to happen like way later when Zeus makes a vow to Thetis, who is Achilles' mother, to help Achilles out. So we are kind of faced with a translation issue here, but it's one of knowledge base, not of language. So everyone who was hearing this in ancient Greek would know that Zeus is going to make a vow. They already know this story. So we just kind of have to leave it and let people who aren't familiar with this text already just scan right past that and figure it out for themselves. Eventually, for the people who do know, they will understand. Okay, and now we haven't actually had any stopping punctuation yet. This is technically all one sentence. We've had this aside, and now we're sort of starting over. So now we're saying exu. We don't have a verb here. Our verb is still aede, sing. So sing from or from the point. That's what exu means. So I think there's been so much going on in here that our readers will have forgotten the verb. So I'm going to stick a period here, and I'm going to knock the camera, and then I'm going to say, start from when. Okay, and here we have prota means first, ta, it means they in this case, and it's a dual. So in English, we have singular and plural nouns. You can either show that something is one or that it is many. In Greek, they also have the dual. So you can say that something is one, that it is two, or that it is many. So I'm going to kind of preserve that, say start from when they two, and then diastetein erisante. Diastetein means parting or separating, and erisante, if you are a Greek fan, you will recognize the name of the goddess Eris in there, which means strife, and this means quarreled. So start from when they two, I'm going to change it to those two. It's not really what ta means. I'll leave it as they. Those two, when they two. First, prota. Now, Greek likes to do this thing where instead of having two verbs, they'll do a verb and a participle. So what this literally means is when they two first parting quarreled. This is not very common in English, so I'm going to change it to two verbs. When they first quarreled and parted. If you really wanted to, you could change quarreled into something like had strife, if you really want to preserve the idea of Eris being present. But then you'd have to probably set it up with like a verb and direct object, and you wouldn't be able to fit it all into just a verb. So I'm going to leave it as quarreled. And now this last line at the very end of the sentence, we finally get to learn who has quarreled. It's Atreides teu Anaxandron kai Dios Achilleus. And this is where you see there are two names, Atreides, Achilleus. They're put at different ends of the line because they are quarreling. They are separated. It's just said they have parted. So Homer wants the line to show that separation. And this is why we want to the extent that we can, preserve the word order because it is part of the poetry. So Atreides. The person that this is referring to is Agamemnon. However, the poet is using the patronymic, meaning son of Atreus. And I have legitimately lost points on my Greek exams because I refuse to translate some patronymics into English. One of my professors insisted that this would have to be written the son of Atreus, but I was like, no, I am going to just transcribe it and not translate it and write Atreides. And the reason I feel justified in doing this is because you can do it in other languages. If you have a Russian man named Semyon Grigorievich, what that literally means is Semyon, son of Gregory. However, you would never introduce people to your Russian friends, oh, this is Semyon, son of Gregory. You'd always say, this is Semyon Grigorievich, because Grigorievich is part of his name. So I'm not going to translate it. Sometimes I think it sounds good to translate it, Achilles, son of Peleus. However, here I think it sounds way better to just leave it as similar as we can. And we're just going to say Atreides, and you're just going to have to know that that means son of Atreus, and it refers to Agamemnon. But that's going to show up a lot in this text, so if you're not used to it in the first sentence, you will get used to it. So te is just a little particle that lets us know that kai is coming. Kai means and this means, hey, wait up, there's going to be an and coming, so we don't really need to translate it. Sometimes I would translate it as both, so both Atreides and Achilles. but more commonly I would just leave it alone. So Atrides, I'm going to stick a comma here because it makes more sense in English. Wanaxandron means the Lord of Men, nice and easy. Actually, I'm just going to say Lord of Men, not the Lord of Men. That's a more accurate translation. And Dios Achilleus. Now, Dios, you can see the word for the gods in there. So I've seen this translated as godlike Achilles. I've also seen Robert Fagles translate this as brilliant Achilles, and Dios is used in other texts to mean brilliant, not as in smart, but as in like dazzling, like glittering Achilles practically. However, I'm going to try to preserve as best I can the literal translation of the Greek word inside this word and say, and God like Achilles. Okay, so here is our translation, my translation. Rage, sing of it, goddess, the cursed rage of Achilles, son of Peleus, which brought pain to myriad Achaeans and hurled many heroes' souls to Hades, and offered the heroes themselves to the dogs and birds as prey. And the will of Zeus was fulfilled. Start from when they two first quarreled and parted, Atrides, lord of men, and godlike Achilles. And now, just so you can compare, here's two other people's translations. I'll start with the Fagles translation that I mentioned. Rage, goddess, sing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles, murderous, doomed, that cost the Achaeans countless losses, hurling down to the house of death so many sturdy souls, great fighters' souls, but made their bodies carrion, feasts for the dogs and birds. And the will of Zeus was moving toward its end. Begin, muse, when the two first broke and clashed, Agamemnon, lord of men, and brilliant Achilles. And here's one of those older rhyming translations that I mentioned. This is Alexander Pope's. Achilles' wrath to Greece the direful spring of woes unnumbered, heavenly goddess, sing. That wrath which hurled to Pluto's gloomy reign the souls of mighty chiefs untimely slain, whose limbs buried on the naked shore devouring dogs and hungry vultures tore. Since great Achilles and Atrides strove, such was the sovereign doom, and such the will of Jove. So there you go. 3 different ways of rendering what could be considered the first sentence in the Western canon. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll be back soon and you will actually see my face.